a litany of other challenges that are actually making them, not concentrate within the classroom. So we want to talk about that and a lot more, courtesy of FinChurch Aid. And we do have Lillian Mate-Musoki, the Senior Program Officer at FinChurch Aid. A very good morning, Lillian. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Indeed. The plight of the refugees, we'd like to, get into it step by step. But first of all, let's talk about the funders first. FinChurch Aid, who are they and what do they do?
Thank you so much. FinChurch Aid is the largest development corporation in Finland. Our headquarters are in Helsinki. With quite a number of funders. We have UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency itself, and we are the implementing partner for education. We are also the co-lead for education in emergency in Uganda here, chaired by the Ministry of Education itself and then UNHCR. FinChurch Aid is implementing programs in the development and humanitarian setting, and we reach out to the most vulnerable. But for this particular morning, we want to take you through where our operations are.
Indeed.
We are in Bidibidi refugee settlement, which is in Yumbe district. Most Ugandans, when you tell them about refugee settlements, they might not know, they might hear the name, but they don't know where the settlement is. So Bidibidi is in Yumbe. Then Palorinya, which is in Obongi, previously Moyo, and then Chaka, which is in Chegegwa, Rwamwanja, which is in Kamwenge, and Mvepi, and also Omugo in Terego and Arua district respectively. We run on the right best approach of programming, and therefore our interventions have been designed to provide three priority areas. We have the right to education, the right to livelihood, and the right to peace. And they all feed into each other.
Indeed. Let's break them down for the viewer. The right to education first.
The right to education, the right to education is our notch. It's our specialization for the humanitarian setting at the moment. And we empower and promote access to inclusive quality education in Uganda. And the girls that we're about to talk about fall in this category. And
the boys too also fall in that category?
Of course, and the boys too. But we want to look at the vulnerability criteria, that the inclusive education has to do with disability and also the girl child.
Indeed. We shall break that down. And the right to the other one?
The right to livelihood. The right to livelihood.
Indeed.
We look out for sustainable empowerment and people having the basic livelihoods, having their livelihoods improved through the various modalities and strategies used to improve livelihood. The right to peace itself, we want to see that amid this conflict, we have resolutions to peace building, conflict resolution itself. Noting that we work with refugees. We don't want them to come in this country where we are hosting them with lots of conflicts. We want to provide services where there is peace, because the government of Uganda, through its policies, we have an open door policy for refugees to come in, and so whatever their way of living here is based on our own country laws.
Indeed, Lillian. Let's dive deeper into this conversation. The first question here looks like we want to talk about how many of these teenage mothers roughly are within the refugee settlements. We were starting with the problem first, but then the gun does not shoot itself. You understand? There's someone pulling the trigger. So let's talk about the triggering factors behind the events that led to these teenagers, all the refugees getting pregnant in the first place, COVID-19 and so forth. Take us back. What are some of the challenges that they faced during that period that led to this problem we are dealing with right now?
Currently, the challenges that are facing the girls in the refugee setting are not different from the host setting. And we want to attribute majorly, because before the prolonged school closure of over 88 weeks of closure, we had minimized the tendencies or the scenarios of having more girls becoming pregnant. But the prolonged school closure due to COVID-19, the redundancy, the break in earnings for their parents, and there are those who are under forced care, I should say, and there was a lot of pressure on the available economic resources or the resources within a home state that forced some girls to engage in risky behaviors. Others we will not hide away. Others are abuses like the GBV itself, rape and defilement. But majorly, if we want to put it at that level, it is COVID-19, the prolonged school closure that broke down so many life systems and all that. Yeah.
So the biggest factor here was COVID-19. But before the pandemic, weren't we having any of these teenagers being impregnated within the settlements? We
had minimized that because they say that an idle mind is a devil's workshop.
Absolutely.
And the risks to, we saw girls, engaged in domestic work all the time. If it is not there for the rural setting, they don't have a TV, unlike the urban setting where we had children engaged online fully all the time. And I should say we also engaged children and learners in home-based learning using radio and the printed materials. But the rural setting has less opportunities to protecting children more than the urban setting. And this is where our refugees are. I should say the families are still very vulnerable. So getting a hold and controlling children, there are negative parenting habits that come with the people who are psychologically unstable due to conflict and all that. So a parent getting hold of a child and a grip of the child to control and protect them was limited during the pandemic time of school closure. So we saw 471 girls pregnant, those that recorded at the onset of January 10th reporting to school. This is a very big number compared to previously when we had schools opened, and redundancy issues of girls engaging in prostitution and all that.
So that is 471 of these teenagers being pregnant and getting into the school system.
Yes, they delivered. These are the ones that have babies at the moment.
The ones that need the breastfeeding corner.
The ones that need
471.
471 across our 4 settlement areas.
How many are pregnant and are still going through the education system?
Those that we registered are 112. Meaning at a certain point, they are going to break off for delivery and come back to school. And as Finchurch Aid, we are using the current guidelines on prevention and management of teenage pregnancy issued by the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Education to reintegrate the girls back to school. Yeah.
Are we also talking about girls who have been, away from the school setting longer than the COVID-19 pandemic? We're talking about when COVID-19 broke, she was already out of the school setting. She was already maybe having 1 or 2 children. But right now she's saying, I want to get back into the school system and get some kind of education so that I get a skill and be able to make informed decisions that are going to be affecting my life. Do we have this version of teenagers also being catered for?
We have, we run 4 areas of education.
Yes.
Looking at the sector. Early childhood, of course, those are not pregnant. They are 0 to 6 years. We also have the primary education, secondary education, vocation, and we also, through our donors, we provide scholarships to those who have minimum requirements as refugees to join the university. But for this particular moment that I'm having with you, I'm giving you those who are first-time mothers. First-time mothers. And previously, even before COVID, we ensured that a girl will not have her education stopped because of being a mother. Yeah, so For this case, it is the first-time mothers that we are talking about. Previously, we've been ensuring that we reintegrate those who need education, and indeed they make a decision because looking at primary, secondary education and also vocation, they will choose where they want to go, and we run accelerated education program, and also currently due to COVID, the strategies in education are changing. We are seeing also condensed curriculum so that they have catch up no matter the age. For them to join the next level of education.
This is Lillian Mate-Musoke, Senior Program Officer at Charge 8. She has given us very good information. She says over 400 of these teenage mothers actually got back into the school system, and they're actually, you know, taking care of their babies while getting some kind of education and skills. Over 100 are still pregnant, but are still within the school system. So many challenges are befalling this version of the teenagers who are still actually pregnant and are still in the school system. Lillian Mate is going to be breaking down some of those challenges. What are some of them that are affecting them within the school system?
We've had interfaces with some of these learners or girls, and within the school setting, I want to give you simply a very short scenario.
All right.
We have refugee children who come unaccompanied, and they are under foster care.
Indeed. But
when you become pregnant in a foster family, there is some tendency, even I'm a mother of 3 girls.
Indeed.
It's a heartache, and it's a fear of every parent to have a teenage child.
Additional burden.
Yes, and more so with a foster parent who is struggling with the limited resources that they have. Some girls have cited that they are being isolated, or the foster parent goes back to the agencies and says, you know what, I cannot take care. You gave me 1 child, now I'm going to have 2 extra children. So the issue about stigma, the issue about discrimination, the issue about parents giving up some of these children. Even in our normal setting, we've seen parents having girls who have been impregnated, look for the boys, hunt down the boys, and some girls chased away. So it's not any different. So some of the challenges within school, even being branded by the fellow learners. For example, we broke off in 2020 in March. You did not have a child. We start branding you as a member of Parents and Teachers Association. When you see parents coming for a meeting, you're like, oh, please, you're also a parent. Go and sit with your fellow parents. So the issue about stigma, the issue about the breastfeeding corners themselves in the school. This is something new to the sector.
Are they being implemented?
With our funding from Bureau of Population, Refugees and Migration from the U.S. Government of State. These are some of the new strategies we are implementing to establish the breastfeeding corners. And so far they have been established in Palorinia. Other settlements, it's a rollout. We are trying to see how it works. There are some few comments about the breastfeeding corners, that they will be encouraging girls to become pregnant in school because there is a corner.
Really?
Yeah. But those are people who don't know that some of these issues come because some people don't have, the children don't have informed choices and the skills, and even the, you know, the background issues about them becoming pregnant.
Okay.
But the breastfeeding corner is something that the girls look out for. Some other challenges is concentration while in classroom. It is for a mother, even us, while we go to work, you're thinking about how is the child doing. For us, we have all the resources to have maids and nannies and daycare centers. But the breastfeeding corners, there are those who might not be able to bring them to the breastfeeding corners. One, also the time management to come to school. Yes, the breastfeeding corners are established. How about those who don't have enough breast milk?
Indeed. What do they do in that regard?
What do they do in that regard? So we are coordinating with other implementing partners. Finchurch Aid is not working alone. We have health and nutrition partners whom we are working hand in hand with to see that they support some of these arising challenges.
Lillian, well, the school setting is the safest place for a teenager. Why is it that some of these teenage mothers have actually shunned the school setting since they got pregnant? In that regard, we'd like to, talk about some of the factors negating the ability of some teenage mothers from getting back into the school fold. What are some of those? Societal norms?
Yeah, societal and cultural norms. It's not any different. The boy And in this case, if I became pregnant, the boy will continue with school. I will not. That is not debatable.
Yeah.
So the society norms themselves. And then we have issues of them not being able to make decisions on their own. Other challenges are GBV in nature, yeah. The SGBV, sexual gender-based violence.
We're also hearing that communities are actually cherry-picking. They would like to, educate boys, against the wishes of the girls. Is that actually happening, favoritism for the boys?
It is happening, but in our setting, we want to see it changing. And that's why we want to see more male engagement. And in this case, to do away with we want to see, even when these 471 girls, teenage mothers, have come back to school, and the 112 who are still pregnant, who will go on maternity break for some time. We want to see the engagement of the boys. And so the issue of male engagement is very pronounced. And also some of the interventions we are looking at teenage parenting programs. If the society, if they are all the people in the community, if the breastfeeding corners are not enough, do we have mamas in the village who will say, Lillian, go to school, let me take hold of your child, and I simply receive a little incentive, if it's there, to take care of this child. But also, the boys should be able to lead the campaigns that we have. Currently, the boys are the ones, border men, we have these campaigns ongoing to ensure that the girls are retained and they're enrolled in school. So the issue about male engagement is also pronounced. Yeah.
Dear teenage mothers out there who are watching Morning at NTV, getting pregnant or having a child isn't the end. Education, it offers continuity. If you go to school, you will get a skill. That skill will help you get a job, or put up some kind of entrepreneurial business that will go a long way for, in giving you the ability to actually send that child back into the school setting. So you are a child with some kind of skill and education. So you're sending your child into the formal school system so that that child can also get some kind of skills, which is in contrast to a teenager who never went to school. If you didn't go to school, you'll be too poor to actually start up any business, and you'll be unable to actually also get the money to send your child back into the school system. So intergenerational cycles of poverty shall continue, and we want to break them. So we want to speak to the teenage mothers out there who haven't gotten back to the school fold with this question: why is it important to educate girls, and particularly the refugees?
Okay.
Rallying cry.
Yeah. Just like you have put it clearly to the teenage mothers who are watching, and also the parents, and people who have control on the future, to the future of these girls, we want to also break the poverty cycle, like you say. And if we equate it to the current situation of COVID that is ongoing, education is the immunization, is the vaccination, is that jab to stop poverty. Because if you give birth at 16, you will not be able to attain the skill for another level, like you say, job, and then it will be transferred on
to the child,
to the next generation. Education of a girl will contribute to our national development as a nation. And to the refugees, much as your countries currently are in conflict, we want to see the education of girls being the champions of peace building. Like I said, the Finchurch aid programs are interlinked. You have educated a child, you have improved livelihood, and you have built peace in the country.
Multifaceted approach.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So we want to see that girls contribute to the national development. We break the poverty cycle. We also build resilient persons and enthusiastic people in the society. I want to see a girl who is the next Winnie Byanyima, who is the next Lillian, who is the next. When we were growing up, they used to ask us the female vice president then, who was Speciosa Kaziwe, and so many other women that we look out for as girls.
Indeed, and we would also like to know, Finchurch Aid, we talked about the challenges, we talked about all these ailments, but what is Finchurch Aid doing to support these teenage mothers in your capacity?
Yeah, in our capacity as an education agency, through funding of various donors, One, we are establishing the breastfeeding corners.
All right.
So that the girls feel safe and comfortable to stay and complete school.
Indeed.
We're ensuring that we have championed lots and a lot of campaigns, awareness campaigns. Some of them are door-to-door, others are focus group discussions with parents and the girls themselves, using various modalities to carry out sensitization. We're also ensuring that through our program, one, we have, for those who stay home longer, they don't need to fear that the education system will get broken down, but rather we have a condensed education curriculum, and we also have accelerated education programs ongoing in the refugee settlements for girls to continue with to school. The other one is that we also provide life skills, holistic education program that will ensure that girls and boys all access school. Above all, a teacher is the custodian of a child while in school. A teacher can mean to ensure that a child continues with school, or they harm their ability to go on in school. So we do train teachers, senior women teachers, in various capacity building programs, continuous teacher development programs that will see that the current number of teenage girls complete school and others enroll school, and they are psychologically supported to stay in school.
Let's talk about a group that is pushing back. The religious leaders. Not all of them, but some of them are saying we do not want to see any breastfeeding mothers within our school compounds. We do not want to see any teenage mothers within our school compounds because they're going to be setting a bad example to the other children. Let's speak to the religious leaders and what they are doing, whether or not it's actually in good faith in that regard. Talk to us about that.
One, education is a fundamental human right.
Basically, yes.
And we want to also contribute to the sustainable development goals. To the religious leaders and to the parents who are, the world is judgmental.
Indeed.
But as a parent, I told you I have 3 daughters. I would not want to see a breakage in the future of a child because of the judgment that come. To the sector of education. And like I said, it's a fundamental human right.
Indeed.
If the religious leaders can look at it in that form, that education is a fundamental human right, then we'll be able to have all these girls running back to school.
Education is a fundamental human right enshrined in the Ugandan Constitution, the Refugee Act of 2006, and also the Sustainable Development Goals. Talk to the boys who are impregnating these girls. What should they be doing to ensure that we alleviate this challenge? Talk to the boys.
Yes, to the boys, this is what I have to say.
Like I did say, the gun doesn't shoot itself.
No, the gun doesn't shoot itself.
The boys are behind the trigger.
But the boys, it starts with their parents.
Indeed.
That if the boy is nurtured to look at a girl like a mother, like a sister, eventually in the future, of course, they will not be your mothers, they will not be your sisters, they will be your wives.
Indeed.
You have to ensure that you support your sister, your mother, your auntie to finish the school so that we have a better nation, and to refugees, they have better homes where they have run from.
Lillian Martin Musoki, Senior Program Officer at Finchurch Aid, thank you very much for actually sparing some time to speak to Morning at NTV. We highly appreciate your time and company.
Thanks for hosting us.
And indeed, kind regards to all the refugees in all the settlements within this country. We love them.
Thank you so much.
And indeed, you're still watching Morning at NTV. John Walugembe, the president of the Federation of SMEs, is already here, and via Zoom, he shall be flanked by Connie Kachihembo, the CEO for, that is the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Association Limited. That conversation largely focusing on how we can empower